Hi there, it's Ian here, and you're watching Grumpy Opinions, the show where I'm going to tell you all about what I think of films, TV shows, games, and life in general. Let's get on with the show. Outlander is the show about Claire Fraser, a 1940s nurse thrown back in time and now married to semi-outlaw Jamie Fraser in 18th century Scotland. Episode 12, Lallybroch, marks an interesting change in the tempo of the show Outlander. Claire, having now decided once and for all that she's going to stay with Jamie in the past, is now on the way to the stately home of Lallybroch. It's a place that he hasn't been back to since he was whipped and imprisoned by Black Jack Randall. He's also kind of scared of rumours he heard that Black Jack might have raped his wee sister and left her pregnant. So, of course, when Jamie comes and he finds a wee boy running around, he thinks the worst, and turns into a right narky sod. But then so does his sister Jenny, who also isn't standing for any Claire's lip. And the only thing that will diffuse the situation is Jenny's husband Ian, who turns around and makes everything clear and sorts it all out. It turns out that Black Jack did try to molest Jenny, but he couldn't get it up, and she burst out laughing, and in the end, Black Jack got upset and ran away. But meanwhile, Jamie got offered a pardon if he'd had a bonk with Black Jack. Turns out he goes both ways. But Jamie refused, and got that nasty bad whipping, and that led to his old man having a heart attack. So, with this all cleared up, Jamie and Claire move into the master bedroom, and he gets on with being laird of the manor. You know, being busy letting people off with debts and then getting drunk. Not a good idea, Jamie. Anyway, Claire gets up all in the face of this abusive dad who's smacking his wee laddie around for eating a bannock. Turns out that drunken Jamie ended up giving that bad dad a slap later on as well, so things seem to be making sense. The next morning, Jamie goes off to fix a water wheel, so that presumably the audience can see him wearing just a shirt. But then redcoats come, and Claire and Jenny have to pretend that there's somebody else, and he's almost caught, because one of the redcoats wants to help out. But instead, Jamie sacrifices his dignity and his nice shirt, and also so the ladies in the audience can ogle him sitting there in the water surrounded by all those nettles. Ouchie. But, that must have actually been so Jenny could see the scars on his back and feel sad, because all of that leads to Jenny and Jim's having a wee tearful forgiveness session right beside their dad's grave. So hopefully things seem to be all good in the land of Lallybroch, and it seems that way, right up until Claire wakes up the next morning and finds her husband at gunpoint. Oh my god, cliffhanger! So what did I think? Well, this is the point in the story where the narrative kind of bottoms out, between the witch trial and the big lead into the finale. So it's interesting to see that the show, as opposed to the book, continues without descending into total soap opera. It still does to an extent, but a lot of it's character building, and you realise that Jamie is a kind of broken person, as is Jenny, and that it's Black Jack who's kind of the blame to the both of them being that way. Still, the cast acquit themselves really brilliantly, with the standout being Laura Donnelly, who plays Jenny, and she holds her own against the series regulars, and she makes the character stand out really well. It's also nice that we actually got to see redcoats shown as being normal people, actually trying to help out by fixing the water wheel instead of just being horrible evil killers or rapists. It's a nice change. But I'd be remiss if I didn't have a word on my grumps in this episode. The fact is, we really just get dropped into a slightly odd soap opera family nonsense, and Jenny being straight out the gate angry and irritating, while Jamie turns from his usual smart, stoic, slightly ridiculously brilliant gent into a bit of a whiny teenager. Meanwhile, his new brother-in-law Ian ends up just kind of standing around, on one leg, doing nothing much in the story. Moreover, Claire doesn't actually have much to do other than nag people and then look at this wee boy with sad eyes. But ultimately, this is kind of the throwaway episode of all of Outlander, because it's an introduction to a way of life and family drama. But it also feels like a ton of bricks slowing down the story, and it's better than the book, because the book really drags at this point and nothing much happens. But other than that wee moment at the end when Jamie's held at gunpoint, nothing of any real excitement happens in this episode. Still, it was okay. Until next week, I've been Ian, and these have been my grumpy opinions.